Hey everybody, it's Larry Lawson on the air with Indian River Hauntings. We are back, folks. Unfortunately, Chris is not with us right now. We're hoping he will be joining us shortly, but I do have my trusted companion and my son Ryan's with me tonight. He's going to help me with the show. Hi, Ryan. Say hi to everybody.
Hello.
Yeah, it's Halloween night. I don't know where you're listening from, but here we are. It's Halloween evening. We got kids coming to the door, and it's about 80 degrees with the humidity about that same level. So it is hot and muggy out here tonight. But fortunately, down here in Vero Beach, Florida, we are going to get a cold front tomorrow. Yep, we're going to get a cold front, and it's going to maybe only get up to 80 tomorrow. So welcome to South Florida, folks. But we do want to welcome everybody watching tonight. Um, got lots to talk about. Hope that you guys can jump on tonight, ask some questions, say hello. We're going to talk a couple of things tonight, a couple of different topics. But first, I got to say hi to those folks out there that we need to give shout outs to. First thing is my buddy Ike Enzi out there in New Mexico. Ike, I don't know if you're watching, but I hope you're feeling better. Had some medical stuff done, buddy, and I hope you're doing well. I do have our beer challenge. This is a stout lager. It's called, let me put my glasses on so I can read it. Had to take the glasses off so there's no glare. This is called Breakfast Stout. It's kind of a um, chocolatey licorice type of taste. It's really, really heavy. And I think it's, put these back on here for just a second. It's about a 9% alcohol by content. It's made in, it's not a local one. This is a back in my neck of the woods, Grand Rapids, Michigan. A lot of good beer comes out of the Grand Rapids, Michigan area. So this is the breakfast stout. It's very, very heavy, very chocolatey, licoricey. Um, excellent choice. So breakfast stout out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Check this out. Beats that stuff they have over there in New Mexico. Trust me on that. So, at any rate, I also want to say hi to our friends down in West Palm Beach, War Party Paranormal, Freddie Damien over there in York, England, one of the best storytellers around, and all the other folks that are out there. Is Dan Squatch on yet, Ryan?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not Dan. Who got anybody on right now I can say hi to?
Jeff McCall is the only person.
Jeff. Jeff, appreciate your loyalty, buddy. You follow us wherever we go, man, and I really hope that somehow we get to connect. Eventually, maybe do an investigation together. Always happy to have you on there, Jeff. So, if you got some questions, shout out. Anybody else right now, Ryan?
No.
Nobody. It's a quiet night. That's okay. Let's chat a little bit about what we do, Ryan. I mean, you and I started this whole thing, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, it was a. By the way, Jeff, I need you to tell me if you're listening. Is Ryan's voice loud enough? And Ryan will see the answer. Just type it in if you can hear Ryan well enough. Yeah, usually you and I started this. In fact, it was your 11th birthday, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Why don't you tell the audience kind of what happened that night? It was your 11th birthday. We went to where?
It was to St. Augustine for my 11th birthday. That's where I really wanted to go.
Yeah.
And you took me.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to check my microphone to see if it's loud
Okay.
enough.
All right. Here's what happened, folks. Ryan and I went up to St. Augustine. He really wanted to go there for his birthday. Ryan was becoming very interested in what was happening with the paranormal, and I took him up there. And it wasn't too long before that famous event with the ghost hunters where something was uh, videotaped peeking over the railing. I don't think that's ever been debunked. The video they took. So anyway, we went up there and we had an opportunity to do the Dark of the Moon tour. Really want to recommend that in St. Augustine. If you want to take a tour up there, that really is the real deal. I know there's some folks that have questioned the past, but we've only had good experiences there. But in the Dark of the Moon tour at the St. Augustine Lighthouse, St. Augustine, Florida, we went, had a great time. Went through the tour once, came back out, said, "Hey, let's do it again." So we did, and the guy that was running the tour said, "You guys went through this once. I've got a small group. I'll take this group over to the lightkeeper's house. You guys can have the lighthouse to yourselves." So Ryan and I went into the lighthouse, and I don't even remember what floor we were on. Do you, Ryan?
I think we went like 11 flights.
It was up there. Okay.
Yeah, we
Well,
went up like
anyway,
about halfway, at least.
okay. Well, the story is during the construction of the lighthouse, three little girls died. Two of them were the daughters of the lightkeeper, and I think one was a friend of theirs. And they played on a track that went up to the construction site down to the water. That's how they got the supplies in uh, to up to the site. Now you've got to understand something about Florida, folks. Back in those days, there were no roads. A railroad just came through in 1893 on the East Coast with a guy named Henry Flagler. So most stuff came to the coast of Florida via water. So anyway, the three little girls were playing on the track on the cart, and the cart brakes didn't work or something, and the cart went into the water and killed all three of them. There's been talk for years and years about the girls being seen or heard in the lighthouse. So Ryan and I are in the lighthouse, and we're sitting there nice and quiet, and suddenly we hear the girls laughing. Now, being the cop that I am, the first thing I do is I'm looking for microphones or speakers or something. Nothing. We realized what we experienced at that point, and Ryan and I decided we're going to look into this further, and that was the creation of our investigative arm, the Florida Bureau of Florida Bureau of
Bureau of Paranormal Investigation.
Investigation. Um, And that's what started it all. We began to investigate. Uh, Ryan actually came up with the name FBPI, and it stuck. And we got a group of folks together, some teachers, some law enforcement, other professionals, and we began investigating. And that started this whole thing. And through our work, people really were interested in what we did and our vision and our view of how this is done. And we like to think that we like to try and conduct our investigations like I did as a police detective. And people wanted to hear about it, and next thing you know, they asked us to take folks on tours, and we did, and here we are now with Indian River Hauntings, where we do all kinds of tours and events with the focus on showing folks the right way to do things, how we vision it, the professional, ethical way. So that pretty well sums it up, don't you think, Rye?
Yeah.
Oh, Ryan, I cannot hear you, bro.
Come on, hold on.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
just barely, folks. If you can hear Ryan out there, let us know. I think I'm getting something on my cell phone here. Let me look.
I hate this thing. Why does it do this to me?
It's only 11.
Why am I so
Okay.
low?
Okay, I think they must have changed time over there. I'm going to send Chris a quick letter. Um, let me just send Chris a quick note. Yeah, I don't know if time changed or what, but
Is it daylight savings?
I don't know. But it is 7 o'clock here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just so anyway, Ryan. Um, well, I'm going to take a minute to text Chris here and get him on the air. Share with the folks one of the stories that you've had since we've begun doing our events. You've helped me in the school. Tell them about that one event that kind of got you going at the old school in Fellsmere during one of our events. Well, I text Chris.
There's been a few of them to be honest, but I remember there was one time we just finished one of our tours and you were downstairs. It was like on the first floor talking to a few
Yeah.
people. And I go upstairs to lock up the choir room, lock up the auditorium, and it's pretty dark up there. So I'm holding a flashlight in one hand and I'm trying to get a key in in the lock, and I just could not get the key in the lock, and I was getting kind of frustrated. And all I hear are little kids laughing from behind me, and it sounded like they were standing right behind me, not across the hall, right behind me. And I turn around and nobody's there. Of course, it didn't
Yeah.
scare me because I know that there's kids in there, but it kind of got obnoxious after they started laughing at me for a little bit. Didn't really help
Yeah.
the issue.
Hey, I just see Chris is coming on. We got some sort of time change issue, folks. We haven't gone to daylight saving time here, but can you answer him, Ryan, or do
Yeah,
I need to?
I got it. It's on the
Oh,
third for us, I think, is when daylight
yeah,
savings is.
yeah. So just a time change. So, hey, Chris will at least not have to stay up as late this time. So
Yeah,
if
so
you got it,
like that. Unavailable.
yeah. Incoming call. Hold on, just folks. We're gonna get Chris on here. Show this is definitely Halloween night, man. Things are a little creepy things are happening out here. But yeah, that's one of the many events that Ryan has just described that we had happen. And the biggest reason we do this is we want to show folks that, oh, is that Chris?
Hello
There
there.
he is. Hey, brother.
We've been caught out because our summertime's changed.
Oh, okay. See, we
So
don't.
it's just gone 11 o'clock here.
Oh, see, we don't change time till like on the 3rd of November. So, oh well. Hey, Chris, how are you?
I'm tired. I'm in shock because I've just put everything on and done it in 5 seconds flat.
Well, that shows what kind of how dedicated you are to the cause, brother. Yeah, we were just talking with everybody about how Indian River Hauntings got started and how Ryan and I really started this whole thing back 12 years ago. Oh, are you partaking of an adult beverage?
Yeah, can you see that? No, you
No,
probably can't.
can't. What is it?
There you go.
It still can't see.
Beer.
Yeah.
It's called High Pike.
High Pike.
I picked it up at Bruffham Castle today when I did a quick investigation there.
Uh-huh.
So it was English heritage, and they were selling a bottle of beer, and I thought I'll have a try of that, and we'll see what it's like.
Excellent.
It's not bad. It's not bad. It's a bit bitter for me, but it's not bad.
Yeah, I was sharing with our audience earlier. I don't know if you can see this, but I got a thing called breakfast stout here. It's a
Oh hell!
It's a stout, a very strong. It's about 9% alcohol.
9?
Alcohol by volume. Yeah, I know.
Whoa.
Is that kind of weak compared to your stuff there, bud?
No. That's not really breakfast stout, is it?
No, it's a kind of a chocolatey, licoricey flavor.
Ah.
And I was just letting Ike know over there in New Mexico that would put his water to shame over there. So I hope you listen. Hope you're listening, Ike, just to kind of get you going there, bro, for the next time you're on. So at any rate, Ryan and I were just kind of chatting about how we got this whole thing started and our event at the St. Augustine Lighthouse. But I'm sorry about the time mix up, but
That's all right. No, it's I didn't think either. It's all right. I didn't think. I literally just turned the computer on, and there was the message from you saying, "Are you on?" And I thought, "What the bloody hell's happening here?"
Well, glad to see you, buddy. I'm glad you're running. Ryan, we got anybody else joining us yet?
Yes.
Who else we got?
We have Dan Squatch, naturally.
Dan Squatch. Glad you're on there.
Ike just jumped on.
Ike, good to see you, brother. Was talking about you before. In case so you don't have to go back and watch it, this stuff will make your water there in New Mexico. This will put it to shame. This is a breakfast stout out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, 9% alcohol. That's what we drink here in Florida. This good stuff,
Yeah.
Ike. So
I doubt if any of my friends will be on because we'll be caught out by the time difference.
Oh yeah,
for
so
us,
you guys.
it's 11.
Oh,
One of your
just
friends is
changed-
on.
Who's on?
I am sorry. Whoever Judge Dredd is, I always forget.
Paul. Just say Paul.
Paul. Paul
Hello,
is here.
Paul. Yeah, hello, Paul. Thanks for joining us, mate.
Well,
I mean, I nearly didn't make it, so I've got no excuse if you're on.
well, anyway, so Ryan, you and I are going to have to pick up this conversation again, maybe in another show, because I want to talk to folks a little bit more about why we do what we do. But now that we got Chris back on, I kind of wanted to go in a different direction. So you and I will pick up on the rest of that later. What do you think? All right with you, Ryan?
Yes.
Hello?
Hello.
Okay, there you are. Okay. So, Chris, I've been thinking a lot this week. You know, one of the things that really frustrated me early in my police career, particularly as an investigator, was when I was working a homicide or something like that, or a death. I would get folks that had visions of what had happened and give me all kinds of stuff that never proved to be much of anything. So I had a kind of a bad taste in my mouth early on with mediums helping me with a homicide investigation. Obviously, my entire view has changed. I've evolved, if you will. And that has caused me to really want to spend some time investigating, looking into the area of conducting a criminal investigation in parallel with a paranormal investigation, and not just from the medium side, but all aspects of the paranormal. And to give you an example, we've got a place down here called Cremation Point. Did I ever tell you this story?
Don't think so.
Okay. This really it's a homicide, but it was solved. It happened back down here, April of 1950. So it was there you go. Just
I'm
got.
trying. It's in my eyes.
Oh, okay. No. Well, anyway, two fishermen squatting on the Indian River down here, and it was pretty commonplace back there. And um, they were squatting real close to each other on one of the just on the west bank of the Indian River, and they got into a fight. And I won't bore you with all the details, but one of them, Charlie Chapman, not Chaplin, but Charlie Chapman, killed the other fisherman, Charlie Shrewsbury, and they were both gentlemen, in their 50s, and Chapman panicked, didn't know what to do with the body, and hacked the body up, put it into a 55-gallon drum, and cooked it up.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Oh, lovely.
yeah, and some even have suggested that old Charlie Chapman may have dined on Charlie Shrewsbury.
Yes.
Yeah,
Charlie
but
burgers.
Charlie Burgers, yeah, I like that. So at any rate, and how they solved it was the chief back in Vero Beach. Then they were at Chapman's shack area, and they found a box of ashes.
Mm.
And something we would never do, Ike, you're going to love this one, pal. Something that we would never do in law enforcement. They takes his fingers and he's running through the ashes in the box, right? Just his bare fingers. And they find a gold tooth in there, and
Mm.
that gold tooth basically connects the homicide. And Charlie, this is all what we call pre Miranda here. So they brought in Charlie Chapman, and he confessed. Drunk when he did, but he confessed. Spent 8 years in prison for manslaughter and came out. Well, that area is still available today. And I've been down there, and we're planning an investigation down there. Now the crime's been solved, right? But I'm thinking of using that as a starting off point for something I want to do, and that's conducting an investigation as I would as a cop and a parallel paranormal investigation. And wouldn't that be an interesting thing to do with perhaps an unsolved death or homicide? And that's kind of where I want to go tonight with you and kind of get your thoughts on it, not just as a medium, but also as a paranormal investigator. So we're not only going to talk. Oh, I don't not only want to talk about your abilities as a medium, but also stuff that a lay paranormal investigator would do with our EMF detectors, spirit boxes, things like that. So I can kind of tell you what it is I'm looking for. Maybe you can give me your thoughts on the other side of it, how we could work parallel. Well, I know we touched a little bit on this last week, but
We did. I think I'll have to tell you the big problem.
uh-huh.
And what the way that I would go about this is before you did anything, you would come and say, I know of an unsolved murder.
Okay.
And everyone says, brilliant, great. And we go running down there and look at the site and go, well, is this where it happened? And you'll say, well, we think so.
Well, here
That's the first. No, hang on. Let me
okay,
keep going,
because
because I'm giving you a little bit of the background to the problem here. The next thing that you do is we take an EVP recording
mm-hmm,
before we do anything else. And I'm not talking spirit box. I'm not talking anything else. We do an EVP recording, and you go in
mm-hmm,
the way that I do EVP recordings, which is very chatty, and you say, "Hello, my name is Larry. This is Ryan. We're here to see if anybody's here with us. We'd specifically like to hear from Jeanette." Okay. Uh, we heard that Jeanette had an accident in this area. You don't mention she was murdered. You don't mention she's death.
mm-hmm.
An accident, because you don't want to scare them off just in case they don't want to remember it. And then you run this for a few minutes and see what you get. Then you take it away and you spend 5 or 6 hours processing it to see if you get any decent answers.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing that you do before you do anything else. The problem with a medium, which is problem 2, I can't guarantee that what I would pick up on would be Jeanette.
And you've made that clear in some of our past broadcasts. It could be anybody coming through.
It could be anybody coming through.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking for a description of Jeanette, who's 5'3", blonde hair, and last seen wearing cut-down denims and a pair of denim shorts and a pair of flip-flops. That's the last description of her that you've got. I'm picking up on someone who's 5'9". She's a brunette, very skinny, and she's telling me that her name is June, and somebody attacked her in this area.
Might have a set. Now, see, I'm glad
Now,
you brought that
but
up.
this is the problem. This is
It,
the
it is
problem.
it is a problem, and it's not. First of all, I'm going to take you back a little bit because I think the first thing that needs to be done is actually, and if we're looking at a unsolved one, maybe 10 years old. In law enforcement, we have a little saying: you got to find the where, what, when, why, and how of a
Hmm.
case. First of all, where, and a lot of times, especially if you're dealing with a serial killer, where you find the body is not where it occurred.
Absolutely right. That's
And,
another thing
yeah.
that I was going to bring up.
So you've got to determine more about your crime scene, and this is where I'm talking about a parallel. And I don't see it so much as one side going first as much as doing it at the same time, but in two different spots, so to speak. For example, a police detective is going to first look at the crime scene. In this case, let's say it's an old one. So now you're having to go back and look through records. And we do that a lot of time with cold cases because when you're in the middle of an actual homicide investigation and you're in the thick of it, sometimes people miss things. That's why folks come back later and re-go through the files. So that's kind of what you're doing this 10 years later. And you figure out, okay, this is where the body was, but based upon the information, the detectives then, if it's a past case, determined the body was dumped here, but they were murdered somewhere else. So you got to get all of those things going. Now, there's a show on TV that does something similar to it, and you've got a guy doing the background, and then you got a psychic going through the scene and pulling in information. That's kind of where I'm thinking of going. And Ike, if you're out there listening, you got any thoughts on this? I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. But I don't see doing it one before the other the answer. I see it doing it almost simultaneously, but maybe not together. Does that make sense?
Yes and no. I you you can take the recording, but I don't want to hear anything of it. But I'd probably be doing the recording. Um, I wouldn't trust anyone else to process it apart from me because I'm anal, completely and utterly anal.
Okay,
Um, but I
all right.
don't want to know about it. I
Um,
don't want to know any names that come through on that recording before I try and get in contact with whoever's there.
well, see, I totally agree with you there, and that's why I would actually have somebody else doing the EVP session. I mean, if you're working together as a team, you've got to kind of have a teamwork type of mentality. So I would see
Now,
somebody else. Go
the
ahead.
problem there is, can they hear the EVPs?
Well, I think you and I have discussed this before. Not everybody, because of the frequency vibration thing, not everybody hears it at the same level. For example, Ryan goes in there and does the EVP session. I'm over here. I'm doing all the background on the case, all the work that was done by the police investigators. Ryan is over here, perhaps leading a small team at the crime scene doing the EVP session. You to follow to give your thoughts. I'm trying to think where I was going with this. Uh, so Ryan does that, and then he processes or he listens to it. Perhaps you go in and do your thing, and then we have a second set of ears, just like we do in a cold case, having a second set of eyes looking at the evidence. So he does the EVP session, he listens to it, he hears nothing, or he hears a little something. You then listen to it and hear some more, and maybe even a third person listens to it and hears some more. And then you start to put all of that together.
This is the problem. This is the problem. You're
Okay.
assuming that you just listen to it.
Hmm.
You don't. You have to spend about 3 or 4 hours processing it, boosting this, boosting that, taking hiss off, usually lengthening it
Okay.
because it's coming through fast.
Okay. And that's
And
fine.
I, I've got 10 to 15 years of processing,
Hmm.
and it would take anyone 10 to 15 years to learn what I've learned. If they can hear the EVPs in the static.
Hmm.
because that's all there is, just the static. I'm not talking spirit box. I'm not talking app. I'm just talking EVP.
Right, right. I get that. I
I
get that.
don't. I've heard some great things on spirit boxes, and I've heard some great things on apps,
Hmm.
but I still don't trust them. If you're doing something as important as this, I don't trust them. I just
Well,
want pure EVPs because
I agree with you. I agree with you.
yeah,
I
I
just.
want it's like the cop in you. You want the
Mhm.
facts. You want
Oh
the
no,
best evidence you can get.
but why not have? Okay, why not have somebody else process it? The EVP is taken. It's processed by an independent person, and then we
Can
have
they
some.
hear them?
Well, here's the kicker. If they're processing it, I mean, I am not an audio person. I fully admit that. So I would have to give it to we'll just say a lab that we trust and we work with, and they process it, and they've got 20 years of experience processing audio. And then we have several sets of folks listen to it. Everybody may hear it a little bit differently, but they should come to the
It's
same general conclusion.
no, it does it really doesn't because hearing is terrible. It's so subjective. Um when you come over, I'll do one for you. We'll do a whole session
Hmm.
and then I'll take you through the whole processing of it. And you'll sit there for about 5 hours.
Oh, I get that because I've done it. Maybe not with the same system or your level of expertise, but I've done it. Um,
Anyway, leaving that aside, because this is going down a dead end, which is taking away from more important things.
okay.
Other things that cause problems. I'm seeing through their eyes, their recollections.
Okay.
Memory is bad. And you'll agree with this. If you've done any interviews with people, memory is bad.
One or two.
Just one or two, you might have done. You never know. Um, so if this happened at night, if the guy has a blue car, they might say it was black.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, witness
Yeah.
statements. That's why
Um,
witness statements are always considered
they
somewhat
might be like me. They haven't got a clue what type of car a car is, and
important.
they'll say it's a car. Well, what sort of car it is? Is it? Well, it looks like a Ford.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, it doesn't help. And so you say, well, can you describe it? Well, it's got four wheels. It's
Yeah,
got a steering wheel.
but see, as cops, we deal with that all the time.
Yeah,
We
right.
deal with issues like that all the time.
I'm trying to see from your point, your perspective, and what you
Hmm.
want.
Hmm.
And what you want is he's driving a Ford Zephyr Mark IV, 1972, color black with white trim, and he's got white wall tires, and he's
Hmm.
got a 3.75 liter engine, and God knows what. And I'm not
Hmm.
getting that. I might pick up on, oh, he's got red leather dash
Hmm.
because they might, they'll remember that. Um, but it'll be silly little things. Um, Often it's feelings, not so much images, it's feelings.
Hmm.
A lot of the time they're saying to me they don't like him. He feels greasy. He I might be able to say he's doing something. He's got a tick or he's got something.
Okay.
They've taken notice of. He's got a skull ring or something like this.
Hmm.
I can pick up on little minutiae. Don't ask me to say his name because I probably won't get it.
But see, here's the kicker, Chris. Most of the time in investigations like that, we don't have any more than that anyway.
Right.
I mean, you'd be shocked. We had a huge homicide here back in the 80s. Two guys from South Carolina came down here. They're prison escapees. They break into, or they go and they rob a Domino's pizza shop. And they basically kill everybody in there and put them and stuff the bodies into a bathroom and took off. People come in, they didn't get their pizza. They came in to check, found the bodies stacked up there, didn't have a clue of who it was. But little bits and pieces, the skull ring, as you said, maybe the tick.
Hmm.
In this particular case, it was a receipt that uh, was completely innocuous, but that one receipt, after further investigation, literally connected the guys that we thought did it to the crime. So what I'm getting at is this.
Is this something to do with a hammer?
No, had nothing to do with a
No,
hammer. No, what
I
had
I thought I remembered something about this being done with a hammer or something. I don't know.
no, no. It was all gunfire.
All right,
Uh,
no, yeah, it's just something similar that I've heard somewhere. I mean, I watch a lot of these sort of crime shows because I'm
yeah,
fascinated by murder and weirdos
yeah,
and God knows what. I just sort of thought I remembered something about this,
yeah.
being done by
So
a couple of guys with a hammer.
yeah, and I'm sure there's one out there. These were two South Carolina prison escapees. But my
Oh,
point,
lovely.
my point is little bits of information that oftentimes people, even cops, just toss away. Oh, it's worthless. Become very important, and that's how we put these things together. So let's talk about that skull ring. You just happened to see that skull ring. Okay. And through legwork, we find out that there's a guy in the area that had a skull. There were three guys in the area that liked to wear a
Hmm.
skull ring. And then we start to look into all three of them, and we develop information that two of them could be involved. And then finally, we put enough information that maybe this one is our primary suspect. But that skull ring is what put us there. So if we're trying to solve the homicide, how do we then move you into providing that evidence? And that's going to be an interesting one. And I think the first,
It's a challenge, and this is
sure
a
it is.
challenge. This is a challenge I'd like to try. I'd get it. I guarantee until I find out what's the words I'm after here. Until I find out the method of doing it.
Hmm.
Until I establish the way to make that contact.
Well,
I'm gonna give you so much spurious information you won't believe it.
but see,
But then
that
all of a sudden, I'd find that contact, and once I've found that contact, I can do it.
well, and that's once again how it works on the investigation side of it. For example, the medical examiner. I don't know what you call them over there, with a coroner, medical
Coroner.
examiner. Okay, they can today give you a really close approximate time of death, and they
Yep.
can give you the method. They can tell you what was used. So not giving you that information, right, but then you may be finding that one contact might be very, very conclusive. Now the key is, and I don't, and Ryan, we got anybody putting in on this one yet? I'm kind of hoping to hear from Ike and his thoughts. You there, Ryan? I think
Nope.
Ryan's sleeping. Okay.
Oh, nope. It's gone.
Yeah,
Nope.
yeah. I don't hear Ryan. Okay. Well, um, you know that proving that you had no connection to the case prior.
That's what I
You did.
need.
You didn't know anybody. You had no prior information, and that becomes the job of the police investigator to be able to provide the court. At least that's the way it would work here.
Hmm.
And I don't even know if it would work, but this is the way I'd go with it. Um, Provide the state with evidence that you couldn't have known this information.
Hmm.
Now,
Now, one
go
way
ahead.
that we can do this, uh, I've done it in the past, and it'll be very experimental.
Uh huh.
You go to an area that you know something about, send me a photo.
Okay.
It's that simple. You just send me a photo, and I'll tell you what I see.
Okay. Well, and I think that's. I just sent Ryan a text to see if he can hear us or not. Um,
See if anyone can hear us. I mean, we might not be
yeah,
live anymore.
we might not be live anymore.
Hey, to hell with it. I'll go and
We're
crack another
live.
bottle of
We're
beer.
live.
Oh,
Oh, he's there.
oh, he is there. Okay. Can you hear us? Okay, Ryan.
Yeah.
Okay, because we
Yeah.
were talking to you, we couldn't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
That's anybody. Has anybody weighed in on anything yet?
No, they just chatter
Nope.
amongst themselves, really.
What are they saying?
What a pair of old farts we are, probably.
Amen
Yeah,
to
you're
that.
100% correct.
Yeah. See,
As
it's
Um,
all-
I
it, don't worry, Ryan. In a few years, you'll be right there with us.
in a few
Hey,
years.
Age stops for no man, or time stops for no man. Now that would be, and that might even be an interesting way to do it. Now there are many psychics out there that have been used in criminal investigations. A lot of them have actually been used in missing persons cases.
Hmm.
But I really want to take this methodology and try it on an unsolved homicide. And I think your point's well taken, Chris. Um, but I see us going in there with the scientific equipment first, maybe on the paranormal side. I'm over here doing my cold case review, looking
I
at
mean,
fingerprints, crime scene.
whatever you want to do on your side, that's absolutely fine.
That's one thing.
You know,
But do you
it
think,
it, it won't impact it. I mean, I'm not going to be there, am I? Let's face it. I mean, you're looking around in Florida, and that's what,
yeah?
7,000 miles away.
Oh, just hop on a plane,
So
come over.
yeah. So give me a photo or a couple of photos,
Would that
and
be a better way to do it with a medium and like have a paranormal team out there, perhaps doing the EVP session, EMF session, maybe setting up some other types of equipment, and then maybe setting the EVP to you to process, or a separate person to process?
only yeah. If you're going to do that, I will do it. I'd love to do it. I really would. Don't get me wrong. I would love to do it,
Hmm.
but it's got to be after I give you my impressions on what I get from that photograph.
So you want to go? Okay, so you need the
I mean,
photograph first.
it would always
Okay,
be far better if I could actually be there,
yeah.
always,
Hmm.
because I'm remote viewing, and that's that's like this conversation here. You know, it's we're interrupting each other, and we're going down the wrong path, and we're misinterpreting what the other one's saying, and
Hmm.
it's thinking. But if you're actually there on the spot, it's like talking to them face to face, and you can really see all the visual cues.
Yeah,
It's a big difference.
I would agree. I would agree with that. Well, I think what we're going to try and do.
But if you go to one of these, you know, if you've got one in mind, go to the place, get me a couple of photographs, send them to me, and let me have a look. See what I pick up. Don't tell me anything about it. And if I'm wrong, hey, I'm bloody wrong.
Hmm. I've got a couple in mind. I think we may do that. I may get the team together and do that because of I've got obviously I've got enough connections that I can talk to some folks and get the data that I
Mhm.
need to begin my inquiry, and then just send some photographs. We've got several unsolved homicides in this area, and maybe that's a great way to begin it.
Mhm.
And if anybody out there has any thoughts on that too, would love to hear from you. Um, so jump right on in there if you've got any like out in Ike. You got anything out in New Mexico? That might be a kind of a cool thing to start
And
too.
then
Get you
you
involved.
don't know anything about it either.
I don't know anything
You're
about it
cold
either. That
casing.
yeah. So
That
that
could be
that
interesting, you know. But then once I've given you what I think I've picked up on, and yeah, okay, I totally agree. It might be all imagination. Completely and utterly, I might be 180 degrees out of kilter. But then I'll process the audio and we'll see what we get from that.
okay.
And I think audio is the best way forward because it's direct evidence.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned that too because early earlier on in my paranormal investigation career, I uh, I really thought that the radio frequency vibration thing was just a bunch of hooey. I'll be
Mm-mm.
upfront with you. But it's not. I truly believe that it's going to be the breakthrough that we're looking for eventually in tapping into the other side.
Well, I got one today at Bruffham Castle. I mean, I've skimmed. I've literally all I do with the first read through is find them within the static, literally, and I just mark them, and I
Mhm.
boost them a little bit so it's just a bit clearer, and I might um, lengthen them just a little bit just to make it clearer.
Mhm.
But I haven't worked them. I haven't brought them right out. And I did ask while I was in the keep at Bruffham Castle who lived here, and it's come back Roger.
Mhm.
Didn't mean a thing to me. I don't know anything about Bruffham Castle. Full
Right.
stop. I haven't done anything on it. Um, it was in the possession of Roger Clifford.
Really?
Yeah, so I've got Roger is stated quite
That's
clearly. Roger
that's where the
in
historical
answer
research becomes
in
important in all this.
yeah the historical research is vital. Now
Mhm.
this might have been Roger the Miller down the river, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good to say, who owned
Oh,
this. And Roger Clifford at one time did own this, and I've got Roger. It's not a name you'd sort of pull out from history, is it? Roger.
no. Yeah. Yeah. Not
You know,
not not really at all.
who owned this? John. Who owned this? Peter. Old names. You're not going to pull out Roger, but I've got Roger on an EVP. So we'll see how this one all develops when I properly process it. But
Let me
it's there. The audio's there.
let me ask you a question, and this is not to put you on the spot, but it's kind of a legal question,
Go on. You
kind of
always do. Go on.
well, because once again, I am still absolutely convinced that I'm going to try and figure out a way to meld these two together. So you're processing the EVP, right? How could you explain to the courts, and I want to couch this with, I have faith in what you do. So this is a legal question in a court. How would you explain to the court that you were able to process the EVP or the recording, and it would still be, it wouldn't be consider doctored, it's not the word I'm looking for, but what you did may not have altered it. Maybe that's a good way to put it. How would you be able to explain to the court that, yes, this is pure, I took this out, I lengthened this, or I adjusted that, but it is still the pure recording? Can you do that?
No, unless I get an absolutely 100% crystal clear, don't have to touch EVP, you
Mm-hmm.
can't. Unless it's there on the tape and it just says, you know, are you there, Billy? Aye,
Yeah.
sir. I can't
Yes,
do it
sir.
because
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah.
if I have to touch it, they can say, the defense lawyer
Yeah.
will say it's been manipulated.
Yeah, that's where I'm going from. But and not being an audio guy myself, I asked this question because I'm not an audio engineer. I don't have the
Mhm.
background you doing it. So I have to ask that question. And you're right. That EVP we got in the old school, is this the room you like to be in? Yes, sir. I mean, there's just no mistaking that, and that's how it came out.
I
So
mean,
I see your
the
point.
best I've heard came through a spirit box, and I know I say, if you're going for a legal perspective, I wouldn't use a spirit box because the defense will argue, well, it could be radio. They'll argue it could be this, it could be that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So how do we get
But
around that?
but the best response I've ever heard came out of a spirit box. And you might have seen it on my channel. My friend John was down at RAF Burn, which is down from York, a little bit
Right.
further, just a little further than Elvington.
Okay.
And he was scratching his head to think, what questions do I ask to get an answer? Blah, 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 blah. So he's going through all the usual, what's your name? When were you here? Can you name an aircraft? Can you do this? He suddenly comes out with, what did you do of an evening to amuse yourself? And a woman's voice, as clear as a bell, untouched by me or anything, comes straight back. Sex.
Careful, this is a family show.
It came straight back,
Uh-huh.
and it was so clear that John asked the question, "What did you do to amuse yourself of an evening?" Sex, and John just goes, "Sex."
Yeah.
Now that's admissible.
Excuse me. Well, I wouldn't. Yeah, I admit you'd still have to go through the courts, but you sure got a better chance. I
That's it.
totally
It's
agree.
untouched.
Hmm.
It's got to be untouched evidence. It's sort of like you can't you've got a pair of panties with stains on. It's no good everyone touching them
Oh,
and then
trust
giving
me,
it to
Daniel
yeah,
Costa. Yep,
yeah.
I totally agree.
It's got to be
Well,
picked up forceps, put in a plastic bag, sealed, and it's got
so
to be that pristine.
oh, trust me, I know. Um,
No, but the audio, any audio that you take, has got
mhm,
to be that pristine as well. You do not touch it. It's just got to
you
be
can't.
as clear as day.
There's no way to. Yeah, okay. So any type of engineering work done on it, there's no way anybody could say that it is still pure. I get it.
No, that's
And
right.
that's
But
that's
once if you do that, you're going to get snippets of information that you can then follow up in a different direction.
well, and that happens all the time. For example, that's why you get a piece of information from the crime scene, and let's even go so far as to say that you've been given a picture of the crime scene, and from that, you come up with a snippet of information, and we follow it up, and we're able to show that that snippet of information was viable and actually produced evidence. We're going to have to come back and show how you came up with that, and that's where your pristine connection to the whole thing. Didn't know anything about it. I'm in England. Larry sends me a picture from Florida, and I don't
No,
know anybody
I'd
from
actually
Adam.
say
So,
that if you wanted to do this for a court, then you don't mention me at all.
oh, yeah, there'd be no way to get around that.
No, you just say, um, we followed the clues.
No, that ain't the way it works. That's
Well,
not the way it works.
as soon as you mention mediums, psychics, anything like this, the court's going to throw it out.
Well, not necessarily. That's kind of starting to change. Now, I grant you it's still an uphill battle,
You
but
got to
I
go
think
down to good old Georgia with the good old boys, and they tell you you're talking a load of horse shit.
uh, no, it's actually changing a little bit, and I have confidence that if we're able to if we're able to find a way to uh, present this and show that it was done in a structured manner, and that goes back to my talk about structuring paranormal investigations. I think it's possible. Uphill battle, and you are definitely always going to be
Oh
fighting
yeah.
other people's perceptions of what this is. Well, the word he got was from Satan or something like that, so it's evil.
Oh, don't go
You're
there.
gonna,
Do not
well,
go there. Do
but
you
but
that's a quick way of winding me up.
sorry, pal, but you understand what I'm saying.
Oh,
You're
absolutely.
always you're going
I've
to
had
have those
years of
people.
that.
So
I've
I
had
don't,
I've had
it's.
years of Americans telling me that I'm going to burn in hell for what I do.
Oh, I'm sure you've had a few Brits tell you that too.
No,
So
they don't. They don't say that. They just say I'm full of shit. But
okay, fair. All right. So so Ryan, anybody out there? Anybody got any thoughts they want to share with us?
Yeah,
I know Dan's.
so Dan has been coming in and out talking about it, but Ike did have a question on how do you authenticate an EVP to another person? And then Dan goes ahead and says, unless you personally took it or were present, there is always a chance of contamination or hoaxing. It's
this
based.
is what
And
I'm saying.
It's also
yeah,
based
and
on
Dan's right.
reputation.
It's got to be if you're going to present it in the court, it's got to be pristine.
Yeah, and it's and I agree with you there, Chris and Ike. I think your question is how do you authenticate it? I think the only way, not being an audio guy, but from what Chris has described, it's kind of the impression that I've always had. Unless it's absolutely clear and you can show that the EVP was taken in a very structured environment, I think that's about the only way we would be able to get it into court. Now, let's say, for example, um, a little boy that we've identified as Billy was murdered in the auditorium, and Mark's question was, is not is this the room you like to be in, but is this the room
Can I ask?
you
Do
were?
you actually know
Well,
anything about this kid?
no, we really don't. That's a whole different story because of all
Right.
there's no records there. So we call him Billy. We don't know if that's really his
No,
name.
no, I know that. I know that. But do you know anything about this kid at all?
Yeah, well, other than he's about 11, 12 years old,
Yeah,
he's
and
been see.
I get an impression of what he
Oh,
looks like. Um,
okay.
but I've always had this impression of um almost looking over a banister down, but I feel he didn't fall or anything like this, but it's disease. It's respiratory,
Well,
something like flu, or it's respiratory. So that
respiratory. Okay, gotcha.
respiratory. Sorry,
Okay.
we talk English, but with different dialects.
Yeah. Um,
Respiratory.
um,
Um,
no,
it
we
might be
have
trying to. It might be worth sort of. Is
jot that
is there
down,
a
Ryan. That
history
might
of this in that area? Is
not
some
specific. I mean, back in the early part of the 20th century, obviously mosquitoes were through there, so there's a
Mhm.
possibility of some sort of mosquito-borne disease. There wasn't anything. I don't know that the Spanish flu that hit
No,
us.
I don't get that. I don't.
Yeah,
I
I
think he's earlier.
no. There, really, in Fellsmere, he wouldn't have been much earlier than.
He feels old. He feels old, and his clothes aren't. No, his clothes aren't. It can't be. It's not 60s. No.
No,
Spanish flu. No, Spanish flu was 1918, wasn't it?
1890.
No, it's no,
1890
he's
is in
not.
that era.
No, I'm getting confused. I'm always getting confused. I'm very good. Sorry. Look, get out of my mind. Hang on. I'm having two conversations here. Um, you're talking about 1930s. You're talking about 1930s to 1940s here in the costume style, because he's got this sleeveless pullover, and shirt and boots. Yeah, definitely boots. Yeah, I can see that. He's got boots. It's something in that period. It's
Okay.
pre-war. It's
the,
pre-Second World War. That's what
yeah.
I'm getting.
The only
It's
thing, do you want me to tell you, because people have seen him, do you want me to tell you what the description's been
no,
given of him? Okay. All
no.
right.
Only
All right.
if I get it right. Now, you see, this is the thing. You're falling into the trap that everyone says, "I want to help you. I want to help you. I want you to
No,
go
no.
this way." It's
Okay.
I just see this little kid. Um,
We
he's
have a
not.
description of him. We have a
He's not.
description.
He's not scrawny, but he's not big. He's not big. He's fed. He's not underfed. Um, he's got darkish hair, but it's very short. Um, boots. I'm getting every time I get boots. I don't think he's got socks, but he's got boots. No, not cowboy boots.
Mm-hmm.
He's got sort of like pit boots, what we call pit boots. You know, Doc Martens type boots. You know,
Yeah.
old-fashioned boots. But no socks. I feel short trousers. Definitely short trousers. A whitish shirt and a greenish coloured pullover without sleeves. That's
Okay.
the best description I can give you of what I'm seeing. Anyway, I'm sorry, I've taken this miles out because sorry, I can't help it. It's
This is the way it goes. No, I understand. I understand. I'm sure the folks out there understand what's happening too. We get talking about him. Um,
but he's definitely
we have it.
respiratory. He's got there's a raspy in the something in the throat. It's raspy. So, that the whooping cough. Ooh, ooh. Croup. Croup. Is that?
How old do you see him being?
Hmm.
Roughly, just a range. I'm not looking for an exact, because that's all we have is a range.
7 to 11.
Okay.
Roundabout. He's not any younger than. Well, I don't know. He's small, but I'd say 7 to 11, somewhere around that. Also picking up on a red bicycle. Old. You know what I mean by an old butcher's bicycle with the basket
No.
thing on the front.
Oh yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
Hello.
Well, Ryan.
I'm
Go ahead,
agreeing
Ryan.
with you. Yes, I'm agreeing with you. Continue
Oh,
talking.
okay.
Right.
Oh.
That's thrown me. Don't see gears, but it's an old-fashioned bicycle. Is it him? Is it someone else? Is somebody showing me this? Is it someone from down the street showing me a red bicycle? I don't know, but that's what I'm being shown.
Well, I don't want to help you, as you like to put it, but I would like to tell you what we know.
Okay, go on then.
Okay.
Put me in my place and tell me how little I know.
No. He's been seen several times by different people in the school. He's normally described as about a 10 to 11-year-old boy, short pants with suspenders, white long sleeve shirt, crushed hat. I'm just telling you what that.
I don't see the. Yeah, I don't see the hat.
Yeah,
I mean, he could
this is
change
how
clothes,
he's.
Dad. You never know.
Yeah, well, yeah. I'm not disputing that. I'm just telling you, Chris.
No,
What?
keep going.
But here's the kicker. He was first seen by a cleaning lady, and she noticed him because she had gotten word from the police department that there was somebody riding around on a bicycle.
All right.
Causing a problem. And as she walked up to unlock the old school, she saw, and I don't know the color, but she saw a bicycle sitting near the door. She goes to unlock the door, and this is the first time anybody has seen the entity we call Billy. I'm not, and that's just what we call him. sitting there, and he was where the description I just gave you, and they acknowledged each other. She unlocks the door. She turns. Both he and the bicycle are now gone.
Right.
So so the bicycle and the short pants are accurate. The age is pretty accurate. Um, the suspenders and long sleeve white shirt are a little bit different, but Ryan brings up a good point. I don't think anybody would disagree that some of the visions that what they're wearing can change. I don't think there's any question about
Mm.
that.
I mean,
But
maybe they could wear
he
what they're wearing at different points of time in their life, if you think about it,
absolutely,
because
absolutely.
you never know.
But now, getting back to the court, they'd throw mine out because I got 2 or 3 facts wrong. But I got the bicycle.
Which is pretty
Well,
significant either way.
yeah, I
But
think it's.
now, how often have I been to Fellsmere School?
Oh, let's see. I
How
think
often have you
none.
been to Florida?
Exactly. Exactly. I think the closest I've been to Florida is probably, let me think, York.
Yeah. Well, see, and then what happens here? Let's just take this on, Chris. So you give a vision that gives us a little bit of information, and from that little bit of information, we're able to find other bits of evidence that lead us to the perpetrator of the crime, whether it's a
Hmm.
homicide, a robbery, whatever, right?
But
So
now, the
you gotta let me finish, Nate. You gotta let me finish
go on.
here for a
Sorry.
second.
Yeah, go on.
Okay.
My
So
mind always goes 10 to the dozen. So just keep going.
what we now have to do is if we're able to link what you saw to some evidence that led us to the perpetrator of the crime, we now need to show that it did come from you. Now, this is where the trick comes into play. Obviously, you're in England, you've never been here, you wouldn't have known any of this information.
Hmm.
I, as the detective, would have to show that and provide evidence to the court that I've not provided you any other information, and show that your vision was pristine. Now comes the problem. Now comes the big curveball. How do we how do we show that your mind was able to see this? And this is where we've got to begin to present evidence to the court, such as the issue of remote viewing. You brought that up earlier.
Hmm.
Remote viewing, it was a government sanctioned
Oh,
used
absolutely.
event. So
The
that's
sea.
what.
Go and ask the Kremlin and go and ask the Pentagon.
Oh God, China! You didn't. China was also in on this too. I've read some really interesting books on the government's use of remote viewing. So what I'm envisioning is taking that information that's already in the government files, presenting that as evidence that this is possible. Um, is Ike jumping in on any of this at all? I'd love to get his point of view as another cop. Ryan, is Ike saying anything?
Nope.
Dang.
Wait for it.
Is Ryan gone again? I think Ryan's gone again.
No, I'm here.
Oh,
Sorry.
there. Okay.
No,
Oh,
he hasn't said anything
Nope.
recently. So big
okay.
ol' nope.
Sorry, Ryan. I can't help it. You're a man of so many words.
Well, but anyway, that's where I see us taking your information and trying to build a case. Now, this is the uphill battle. People still don't believe it. So I see us taking the evidence obtained by the government in their past studies and showing their success to prove it can exist.
Hmm.
Once we've laid that, we've proffered you and we've laid that foundation, and then we've shown that the little information that you've given us has led us to this path. Is it going to be easy? No, but I think that might be the road to go. At least in this country, I can't speak for English law, but in this country, I see that as possibly the way to go with the information you can provide.
I still think the only way you're going to get it is to identify the chap who's done it or whoever's
Well,
done it, and then go and beat 3 bells of shit out of him until he confesses.
yeah, you probably wouldn't have made it as a cop.
Whoa.
I'm sure you couldn't even get away with that over in England.
No,
But
but it's true though, isn't it? I mean, they're going to hide
God,
behind all sorts of things, and
wow, this hour has gone fast, man.
there you are.
And
We've got you going on this one.
and I don't even know that we've really
You
gotten
haven't
any
scratched
farther.
the surface.
Yeah, we really haven't really gotten any
All
farther.
we're talking are generalities
Yeah,
of what we could do, what we might be able to do, and I've given you an example of what I can do.
yeah, and I
But
think
it's as I said, I'll pick up on a thing. I've picked up on the bicycle, and
yeah,
I know you should be able to say to everyone out there, I didn't know anything about this
yeah, and
because we
that
have
would be
talked about that.
And it would be incumbent upon me, if this was to go to court, for example, to provide evidence to the court that I've not given you this information. And I've done that before in different types of cases where I've had to present to the court proof that my witness has not been tainted. So that's something I've done. The big question here is dealing with this paranormal angle to it. Now, it's really easy to say, and I'm going to put this out to everybody out there, and I know there's people that most people disagree with me. It is easy to say it can't be done. It is easy to say you'll never do it. But if we don't try, if we don't work at
Go
it,
to these places and give me a photo.
all
I've,
right.
I've just I've just done a visualization on a place I have never seen.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't got a photograph of.
Yep.
All I've heard is your little snippet of a little boy's voice saying "I," and I've given you a detail which you can corroborate.
And the best part about it is that snippet, that EVP, was pure.
Yeah.
And we still have the actual device it was recorded on, and it can be examined through forensic experts to show that it hasn't been doctored or has not had anything done to it. So that's actually a great start. So here's what I'm going to do.
Just get me that. Get me a couple of photos.
Okay. Won't happen probably until for a few more weeks.
There's no rush. There's no rush. But when you do, get me a couple of photos. Get me an EVP session. Let me have the EVP session of about 3 minutes.
Okay.
Just asking normal chatty questions. You know how I do things. Normal chatty questions, but send it to me after I tell you what I see on those photos.
I know exactly which one I'm going to give you, and I'm not going to tell you anything about it.
Nothing.
But we've actually been assisting another paranormal group that have been looking into what is believed to be a homicide, but the body's never been found. And I'm just going to leave it at that. And I know exactly where I'm going.
Damn those gators! Damn those gators!
Well,
sorry, somebody's just saying, "Damn those gators."
Well, it must be a Florida State University fan. You know, the Seminoles. Football joke, college football joke.
That has gone about 30,000 feet above me there.
I know of two cases we're going to go, and folks, I want you to be listening out there. I know exactly what cases I'm going to give him. I'm going to start working on that, and in a future show, we're going to get into this. Now, one thing I also want to talk about in the future is the mechanics of remote viewing. Can you do that? Can you talk about that maybe in a future show?
No.
No. Okay.
I haven't got a clue. I just do it.
Fair enough.
I couldn't tell you how. It's sort of like I can't tell you how I breathe, but I can.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think anyone can tell you how you do it. I dare say there's somebody out there who can train you to do it, but do they really understand how you do it?
Well,
okay, they pump you full of LSD, but
no, there's actually a way to do it. And the government's figured out a way, and it really doesn't have anything to do with LSD, believe it or not.
Right.
But anyway, all right. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to get together next week. I've got some ideas for next week that Dan Squatch you may like, buddy, and we'll talk about it we're doing an investigation, a daytime investigation Saturday morning. So Dan, when we get there, I'll fill you in on what I think we're going to do next week. And we have run out of time, guys. We got to head on to let you get some rest, even though you're you're done an hour
early. It's really early tonight. I'm let off early.
Now on November 3rd, we go to daylight savings time, so we're going back an hour. So
it's back to 12. So 12 back to midnight for me.
Sorry, dude.
Yeah.
We got a couple weeks. We got a couple weeks of this. But anyway, folks, hope you've enjoyed the show tonight. It was a bit unusual. But we covered some interesting things. I appreciate everybody listening. If you want to hear more of what we're doing and more of our confused talk, if you will, but certainly discussion on the paranormal, would love you to like the page, subscribe, click and subscribe. Join us for the next one. Remember, this is your opportunity to get on there and ask some questions. Ike, Dan, appreciate you jumping on tonight. If you have questions that you want to ask us after the show, or you're watching this after it's been taped, you can send me a question at www ghostguy59. I'm sorry, ghostguy59@gmail.com. Let me back up. Let's
Damn, that age is getting to you,
yeah,
isn't it?
terrible. Ghostguy59@gmail.com. You can email me some questions and we'll bring them up on the air and answer them for you. And
We
of
might
course,
be able to.
well, we're going to try. If we can't find the answer, we will try very, very hard to get it for you. So
We'll
please,
go and beat some guy up and get the answer out of him.
oh, that's why you're not a cop. So like,
I thought I'd make a brilliant cop.
uh, you watch too much
Hey,
TV.
I love donuts.
See, so anti-cop. Anyway, go to bed, will you? Thanks for watching tonight, folks. Remember to like and subscribe. Join us next week at 7 o'clock Eastern Time for our next show. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.
Bye.